Okay, so let's talk about GERD. Gastroesophageal reflux disease. When you hear that, your mind probably jumps to one thing, right? Heartburn. That awful, burning feeling in your chest. And look, you're not wrong, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Just the opening scene of a way more complicated story.
What if I told you the biggest issues, the real drama, isn't happening in your esophagus? What if it's happening in your head, messing with your energy levels and even showing up in your blood? That's what we're going to do today. We're pulling back the curtain on GERD to show you this whole web of hidden connections that might just change how you think about this super common condition.
So where do we start? Well, maybe the most surprising place, the mind-gut connection. And this isn't some vague, it's all in your head kind of thing. No, this is a powerful, two-way street that runs directly between your gut and your brain. It's a real, measurable, biological thing.
First off, let's just get a sense of how big of a deal this is. How common is GERD? Well, estimates show that about 1 in 5 adults, that's 20% of the US population, deals with GERD symptoms at least every single week. That is a massive number of people.
Okay, so what happens when you zoom in on the mental health of that huge group? Well, the picture gets really interesting. A major study from 2023 found that among people with GERD, more than a third, 34% also struggle with anxiety, and almost a quarter deal with depression. Come on, those numbers are way too high to just be a coincidence.
And here's the thing, it's not just that they happen at the same time. The same research show that if you have GERD, your odds of also having anxiety are over 4 times higher. 4 times. And for depression, your odds are more than 2.5 times higher. This points to something really deep going on between them.
The key word from the researchers here is bidirectional. It's a two-way street, a feedback loop. See, the stress and anxiety can make your reflux symptoms worse, but then the constant pain and discomfort from the GERD can fuel your anxiety and depression. It's a really vicious cycle that can be tough to break.
Okay, so you've got this cycle spinning. Naturally, to break it, a lot of people turn to medication. But what is the most common treatment out there? While it helps with one problem, is actually, quietly, creating a whole new one.
We're talking about a class of drugs called proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs. You've probably heard of them, right? Names like omeprazole, pantoprazole, they're everywhere. And they are fantastic at what they do, which is reducing stomach acid. That's why they're the #1 go-to treatment for GERD.
But here is the catch. Your body actually needs that stomach acid. It's not just for digesting food. It plays this absolutely critical role in helping you absorb certain key nutrients. So when you take a PPI and suppress that acid day after day, long-term, you can accidentally make it harder for your body to get the fuel it needs from your food.
And 2 of the biggest players here, the nutrients that are really at risk, are vitamin B12, which you need for healthy nerves and blood cells, and iron, which is essential for, carrying oxygen all around your body. Pretty important stuff.
And we are not talking about a small risk here. This is a big deal. One study in 2022 came back with a pretty stunning finding. Men who were on long-term PPIs were over 10 times more likely to develop a vitamin B12 deficiency. 10 times.
And it gets even more specific. That same study, it found that younger men, guys between 18 and 40, were 7 times more likely to become deficient. So the very medication that's meant to bring you relief could be introducing a whole new problem, especially if you fall into certain groups.
All right, let's recap. We've got this mind-gut connection, and we've got these potential nutrient issues from the treatment. So what does that all feel like day to day? Well, that brings us to something we all need and value, our sleep and our energy.
I mean, it's not a huge shock that lying down can make reflux worse, right? And the data backs it up. Nearly 80% of people with GERD say they have symptoms at night. And of those people, a whopping 75% say it directly messes with their sleep. This isn't just tossing and turning a bit. We're talking about a major disruption to a basic human need.
But this next part is fascinating. Researchers found something really specific. The actual physical damage in the esophagus, the stuff a doctor can see with a scope, that wasn't really linked to feeling tired. No, it was the experience of the symptoms, the heartburn, the feeling of reflux, that was directly tied to fatigue, anxiety, and depression. It's not about what the camera sees, it's about what you feel.
And if that wasn't enough, this brings us to yet another one of these vicious cycles. So the GERD symptoms are wrecking your sleep. But then, get this, the lack of sleep actually makes your esophagus more sensitive to the acid. You perceive it more intensely. So bad sleep makes the reflux feel worse, which, of course, leads to even worse sleep. It's a brutal loop.
So let's just pause for a second and look at the whole picture we've painted here. Because what starts out looking like simple heartburn is actually the center of this really complex, tangled web that connects all these different systems in your body.
So here it is, all laid out. Your GERD symptoms are in a constant back and forth with your mental health. The go-to treatment for it can mess with your ability to absorb key nutrients like B12 and iron. You put all that together, the symptoms, the mental strain, the nutrient issues, the lack of sleep, and it leads to this crushing fatigue. And the final twist, that exhaustion and poor sleep circle all the way back around and make the original heartburn feel even worse. It's a cascade.
It just goes to show you the body isn't just a collection of separate parts doing their own thing. It's one big integrated system. And it leaves you with a final question, doesn't it? If something as common as heartburn is this connected, how many other things we think of as simple, isolated problems are actually just one small piece of a much, much bigger story?